The right hand symbolized masculinity. He holds a little bucket, supposedly to have contained holy water.
The Sumerians remain one of history's most mysterious civilizations. Their origins are debated, yet their cities, writing, and achievements reveal remarkable sophistication. Among their most puzzling legacies is the ancient object known as the Sumerian handbag, a strange artifact that has sparked questions for centuries. Now, scientists have examined this unusual object more closely, uncovering clues that could reshape our understanding of its purpose and meaning. But what did they discover? And what could it reveal about the Sumerians? Scientists reveal the truth behind the ancient handbag. Scientists finally took a closer look at one of the internet's most famous ancient alien images, and what they discovered may completely change the mysterious story surrounding the so-called Sumerian handbag. For more than a century, this strange object has raised questions about why the exact same rigid-handled shape appears carved into the hand of an Assyrian god, on an 11,000-year-old pillar in Turkey, and on a Mexican serpent monument. These objects appear across 3 different continents that supposedly had no contact with one another. Millions of people believe this is evidence of a lost global civilization or even visitors from beyond the sky. But scientists may have finally solved the mystery of the Sumerian handbag, and the answer could change everything. An ancient Sumerian might be confused by almost everything inside your 21st century home. But there is one object that might look strangely familiar: a handbag. And the most interesting part is that the object may have been carved in the god's other hand the entire time. Our journey begins at the ancient palace of Nimrud. Step into the ruins of a city once known as Kalhu, located along the banks of the Tigris River in northern Iraq. Nearly 3,000 years ago, this city became the administrative heart of the powerful Neo-Assyrian Empire. At its center stood the palace of King Ashurnasirpal II, who ruled from around 883 to 859 BCE. He was not only a powerful conqueror, but also an ambitious builder, and the palace he constructed was designed to overwhelm everyone who entered it. The walls of the throne room were covered from floor level to above eye level, with enormous slabs of pale gypsum. Each slab was carved with detailed scenes in low relief and was once painted in vivid colors, although much of that color has faded from the stone over thousands of years. These carvings were not simply decorations. They were powerful displays of royal authority, designed to impress ambassadors, tribute bearers, and anyone who entered the king's presence. Among the hunting scenes and battle scenes, repeated again and again along the walls, were strange figures that did not appear completely human. They had broad shoulders and muscular bodies, wore fringed robes and heavy bracelets, and had enormous feathered wings rising from their backs. Some had human heads crowned with the horned cap associated with divine beings. Others had the heads of birds of prey, complete with hooked beaks and large, staring eyes. These mysterious beings had a name: the Upcalu. In Mesopotamian tradition, the Upcalu were ancient sages believed to possess extraordinary wisdom. They were considered partly divine and were said to have brought important knowledge and the arts of civilization to humanity before the Great Flood. On the palace walls, they appear as guardians and protective figures, surrounding the king and performing symbolic acts of purification. And in the hand of one of these winged sages, held naturally at his side, is the mysterious object. There, on the famous Pillar 43, a strange object appears with a rounded or squared body and a stiff, curved handle rising above it. At first glance, it looks remarkably similar to a bag being carried by its handle. That striking resemblance helped fuel the famous ancient handbag theory. The idea became especially popular online because similar shapes appear in ancient artwork from different parts of the world. Some people believe these similarities could point to a forgotten global civilization, while others argue that they may represent advanced beings who visited Earth in the distant past. But scientists have offered another possibility. The human mind naturally searches for familiar shapes when looking at unfamiliar images. And that is exactly what makes this mysterious object so fascinating. What looks like a modern handbag to us may have represented something completely different to the people who created it thousands of years ago. What hidden clue may have finally convinced scientists to dig deeper into the mystery of the Sumerian handbag? Keep watching to find out. The ancient symbol that appeared everywhere. Archaeologists first discovered a remarkable carving known as Stele 19 at the ancient site of La Venta. The carving depicts a strange deity figure that may have represented Quetzalcoatl, a sacred god of the region, appearing to descend from the sky. But what makes the image so intriguing is what the deity is holding. In the figure's hands is a box-like container that looks remarkably similar to the mysterious object at the center of the ancient handbag mystery. Still in Mesoamerica, but belonging to a completely different civilization known as the Toltecs, enormous stone figures called the Atlanteans are also depicted holding a remarkably similar object. The visual resemblance between the carvings discovered in ancient Iraq and those found in Mexico is difficult to dismiss. These were two completely different worlds, separated by a vast ocean, yet both appear to have used strikingly similar imagery for an object associated with their gods. Could this really be nothing more than coincidence? The timeline of this mystery becomes even more fascinating with the discovery of another handbag-like image at Göbekli Tepe in southeastern Turkey. This extraordinary archaeological site is considered one of the oldest known monumental sites in the world and dates back more than 12,000 years to a period shortly before the end of the Ice Age. And just like the examples found in other ancient cultures, a similar handbag-shaped carving appears on the enormous stone pillars of the site. While many people once assumed that this mysterious symbol originated in Mesopotamia, its appearance at Göbekli Tepe raises an even bigger question. If the site is older than the earliest Sumerian civilization, could this symbol have existed long before the Sumerians ever appeared? But the mystery does not end there. Images resembling the mysterious handbag also appear thousands of miles away in New Zealand, where the indigenous Maori people have their own ancient stories, traditions, and beliefs. According to some interpretations of these traditions, the bag is connected to knowledge that was brought down from the heavens. Even in ancient Egyptian art, researchers have identified intriguing shapes that appear surprisingly similar to handbags. In some hieroglyphic imagery, these forms have been interpreted as symbolic representations of a divine home or sacred dwelling connected to gods and goddesses. Conventional archaeology offers a much simpler explanation. Researchers may argue that these objects look similar because humans naturally create practical designs for carrying, storing, or holding important materials. From this perspective, the mysterious handbag could simply represent a basket, container, or carrying bag that different cultures independently developed for similar purposes. But to those who believe there is a deeper connection, the similarities seem far too striking to simply ignore. If this common symbol was not merely a coincidence, then what could explain its repeated appearance across distant cultures, separated by thousands of miles and different periods of history? Could these ancient images preserve the memory of a forgotten event, passed down from one generation to another until the original meaning was eventually lost to time? Could this forgotten event have been connected to the gods described in ancient traditions? Some theories suggest these cultures may have encountered an influence they believed came from beyond their world. If the mysterious symbol represented something non-human, its meaning becomes even more intriguing. But before accepting such an extraordinary explanation, one crucial question remains. What did the people who created these images believe they were carrying? What unexplained mystery surrounds the ancient Sumerian handbag? Keep watching to find out. The ancient handbag mystery. The ancient mystery behind the handbag begins in the cradle of civilization, deep in Mesopotamia, inside the great palace of Nimrud. Here, Assyrian kings ruled nearly 3,000 years ago. The palace was surrounded by massive alabaster walls covered with deep carvings of incredible towering figures that did not look completely human. These mysterious figures were known as the Upcalu, wise sages or partly divine beings, and they were often depicted with eagle heads or enormous feathered wings. But what these figures held in their hands became one of the most confusing details for historians and one of the most fascinating mysteries for conspiracy theorists. The strange object looked unmistakably like a handbag. The most famous carvings come from the reign of King Ashurnasirpal II, where these figures are carefully shown taking part in a ritual while holding the mysterious handbag and a cone-like object. For years, people have wondered what these unusual objects actually represented and why they appeared so prominently in ancient Assyrian artwork. Now, archaeologists and scientists may have a much clearer explanation. The handbag, known as a bandudu, is believed to have been a container used to hold holy water. The cone, called the mulilu, is thought to have been an applicator used to sprinkle the water, although some researchers believe it may have represented a cedar or pine cone. According to ancient Mesopotamian beliefs and traditions, the mulilu may also have represented a date palm and its role in ritual pollination. The entire scene is therefore believed to depict a purification or blessing ritual performed to protect the king and ensure the fertility, prosperity, and success of the land. This mainstream explanation became widely accepted because it was supported by ancient texts and other physical discoveries of ceremonial containers that resembled the mysterious handbags shown in these carvings. But here is where the story becomes even more interesting. The reason this mysterious handbag has attracted so much attention is not simply because of its meaning in Mesopotamian culture. It is because similar objects appear in the artwork of other ancient civilizations as well. Why did ancient civilizations, separated by thousands of years, vast distances, and even entire continents, depict their gods carrying strangely similar objects in their hands? Could there have been a connection between these distant cultures? Could ancient people in completely different parts of the world have been influenced by the same stories, symbols, or traditions? Or is it possible that these ancient cultures were all describing or depicting the same mysterious gods? Could an even deeper secret be hidden within this mystery, one that the Sumerians may have kept concealed for thousands of years? Stay tuned to find out. The secret behind the ancient handbag. This theory suggests that the figures carrying these mysterious bags were not simply mystical gods or legendary beings. Instead, it claims that they may have been visitors from another planet entirely. Based on the strange and advanced appearance of the bags, some believe they were not ordinary containers or handbags at all, but objects that represented a form of technology far beyond what people of that time were believed to have possessed. Researchers and theorists have also suggested that the mysterious bag could have served several different purposes. Some have speculated that it may have been a portable energy source, capable of powering early structures or advanced systems. Others believe it could have been a powerful communication device that allowed people from that time to communicate with others on their home planet. This brings us to one of the biggest questions surrounding the mysterious handbag. What was actually inside it? One fascinating idea is known as the seed bank theory. This theory suggests that the handbag may have contained the seeds of civilization itself. These seeds could have represented the first knowledge humans needed to build a functioning society, including lessons about writing, farming, construction, and other important skills. While this idea may sound like a major stretch, many people believe it fits the ancient stories surprisingly well, because the figures carrying the mysterious bag were often described as gods or divine beings who brought knowledge and civilization to early humans. However, there could be an even more unsettling possibility. If this mysterious object really represented advanced technology that was used to help humanity, what if its true purpose was not entirely benevolent? What if the technology was not created simply to help humans, but also to influence or control them? This is where the darker side of the mystery begins. Some historians and theorists have connected the mysterious bag with the idea that it contained the seeds of knowledge, while others have gone even further and suggested that these seeds could have represented a form of control. However, there is no solid evidence proving these more extreme theories. At the end of the day, the mysterious bag could have represented almost anything, from a weapon connected to an ancient conflict to a biological instrument supposedly used to create or modify early humans. The idea of extraterrestrial beings giving advanced tools, shaped like ordinary bags, to powerful figures in different ancient civilizations is certainly mind-boggling. But to those who believe the theory, these ancient carvings may suggest that history still contains some of humanity's darkest and most unexplained secrets, hidden in plain sight on stone walls. Beyond the mystery and secrets, could this ancient symbol hold a deeper meaning that has remained hidden for thousands of years? Stay tuned to find out. The hidden meaning behind the ancient symbol. In ancient carvings, the handbag, known as the bandudu, and the cone, known as the malilu, are almost always shown together. If the bag was believed to hold something valuable or important, then the cone may have been the tool used to direct, apply, or make use of whatever was inside. Mainstream historians generally interpret the cone as a purification tool. It is often identified as a cedar or pine cone that was used to sprinkle sacred liquid from the handbag. Others believe it could represent part of a male date palm, possibly used during rituals connected to fertility, blessing, and the protection of the land. But alternative theories see something far more significant in the unusual shape of the cone. This is where the mysterious pine cone becomes connected to the human pineal gland. The shape of the pine cone is remarkably similar to the tiny pine cone-shaped gland located deep inside the center of the human brain, known as the pineal gland. In many spiritual traditions, this gland has been associated with the third eye and is believed to be connected with the soul, intuition, inner awareness, and higher consciousness. According to this theory, the Upcalu, the divine messengers of ancient Mesopotamian tradition, may not have simply been sprinkling water during a ritual. Instead, they could have been performing a symbolic act of spiritual awakening. If the mysterious bag contained a substance believed to affect consciousness or represented some form of divine light or knowledge, then the cone may have been seen as the tool used to deliver it. In this interpretation, the ritual could have been intended to open the third eye of the king or another person who had been initiated into the ritual. The cone would therefore have represented more than a simple object used in a purification ceremony. It could have symbolized the awakening of hidden knowledge, spiritual awareness, or a higher state of consciousness. This idea becomes even more interesting when we look at the symbolism of the pine cone across different cultures. The pine cone did not appear only in the ancient carvings of Mesopotamia. Similar pine cone symbols and objects have also been found in ancient cultures and religious traditions around the world, suggesting that the symbol may have carried meanings that extended far beyond a single civilization. One of the most famous examples is the Pygna, a huge bronze statue shaped like a pine cone that stands in Vatican City. Similar objects can also be seen in the hands of Egyptian deities, while followers of the Greek god Bacchus were often shown carrying staffs topped with pine cones. These examples have strengthened the idea that the cone may represent a universal and hidden teaching about spiritual truth, inner awakening, and higher knowledge that was shared by ancient cultures. This new perspective completely changes the usual archaeological explanation of purification and introduces another possibility, the idea of power. The concept of forbidden knowledge and mysterious cosmic origins forces us to look more closely at the cone and the bag, because they may be the two most important elements of this entire puzzle. Together, they appear to suggest a power that could have existed beyond the ordinary human world, and perhaps carried a universal message that ancient people left behind for us to discover and understand. But if these objects really contain such profound secrets, then we also need to understand why ancient people designed them in the first place, and what these unusual shapes were actually meant to represent. The mystery surrounding the global handbag is enormous, yet for decades it may have appeared as though the academic world simply pushed the subject aside. When we see how little attention some other ancient relics receive, it can seem as though scholars avoided seriously investigating the handbag and instead chose simple explanations that kept the mystery unresolved. However, that idea is exaggerated and not entirely true. The mysterious container has actually been studied extensively for more than a century, ever since these ancient carvings were first excavated and examined by researchers. The first and simplest explanation was that the carvings showed basic, practical containers. According to this view, the objects were ordinary bags or containers used for carrying and storing materials or for taking part in simple ceremonial activities. Major archaeological institutions have also supported what is sometimes described as the Pollen handbag theory. According to this explanation, the objects shown in the carvings were connected to ancient rituals involving fertility and blessings. In this interpretation, the handbag was a container holding water mixed with pollen, while the cone was used as a tool to sprinkle this mixture over people, sacred objects, or plants during the ritual. This explanation made sense within the world of ancient societies because agriculture was extremely important to their survival, and fertility was one of their greatest concerns. Protecting crops, encouraging growth, and ensuring successful harvests were essential parts of everyday life. But despite appearing reasonable at first, this theory also has some major flaws. Could the mysterious bag be just one piece of the puzzle, with other ancient Sumerian objects hiding even deeper mysteries waiting to be uncovered? Keep watching to find out. The mystery of the ancient bucket. The Anunnaki were strongly associated with deities from around 3,500 BC in the region surrounding the Tigris and Euphrates rivers, an area that became home to several ancient Mesopotamian cultures, including the Sumerians. Their gods were known as the Anunnaki. However, the discussion then shifts from the Assyrians to the Sumerians and begins connecting these Sumerian deities with the mysterious buckets, implying that the objects may have had some connection with the Anunnaki. But there is an important problem with this interpretation. The Assyrians never called the creatures shown on their palace reliefs Anunnaki. Instead, they referred to them as the Upcalu. The word Upcalu comes from Akkadian and has several meanings, but it is generally connected with wisdom. Translations often describe them using words such as wise men, sages, or experts. More specifically, however, the term could refer to special sages who were believed to possess semi-divine qualities and serve as supernatural guardians. These are the same figures we see in the ancient images holding the mysterious buckets. They were believed to have protective abilities. If you are wondering what the word apotropaic means, it simply describes something believed to have the power to protect against evil or drive harmful forces away. These semi-divine guardians are the figures repeatedly shown carrying the mysterious buckets. Although the word Upcalu ultimately comes from the Sumerian word Abgal, the Sumerians generally used the term in a much broader sense to describe wise people or sages. There is, however, one important Sumerian temple hymn that mentions the 7 sages, and these appear to have been special figures. This suggests that the later Upcalu tradition may have had roots in much older Sumerian traditions. Yet, there are no known Sumerian texts that clearly describe these figures as the Upcalu guardians seen in later Assyrian art. There are also no known depictions of the Upcalu in Sumerian art that have been discovered so far. In fact, the earliest known depictions come from Assyrian rather than Sumerian art. The Assyrians appear to have been the civilization that fully developed the Upcalu mythology, while the Babylonians also adopted parts of the tradition, although to a more limited extent. Our earliest known written reference to the Upcalu guardians comes from a ritual incantation text called Bit Messeri, meaning House of Detention. This text was discovered among the remains of the library belonging to the Assyrian king Ashurbanipal, who ruled during the 7th century BCE. The text formed part of the training material used by exorcists and explained how evil spirits could be kept away from a house. The second tablet provides detailed instructions for creating figurines or paintings of the Upcalu and placing them inside the room of a sick person close to the bed as a form of supernatural protection. The text also explains how specific rituals and invocations could be performed to give these figures their protective role. One section provides instructions concerning the 7 Upcalu figures. The word paradu indicates that the Upcalu were composite or hybrid beings. They were often represented with human bodies and animal heads, although some were also shown in completely human form. The text gives instructions for creating these figures using gypsum and black paste and placing them beside the wall of the bedroom. It also describes 7 figures associated with the sacred kuru, a type of plant, which were positioned near the entrance of the bedroom, close to the sick person, and at the head of the bed. These instructions reveal that the mysterious figures carrying the buckets were not simply random images. In Assyrian tradition, they had a specific protective purpose and were closely connected with wisdom, guardianship, and rituals designed to keep evil forces away. Beyond everything we have uncovered, let's take a step back and explore the world of the Sumerians. Who were these mysterious people, and where did they really come from? Keep watching to find out. The mystery behind the Sumerians. The origins of the Sumerians remain one of the most fascinating mysteries of the world. But one question has continued to puzzle historians. Where did the Sumerians actually come from? Historians believe Sumer was permanently settled sometime between 5,500 and 3,300 BC by people from West Asia who spoke the Sumerian language. Unlike Semitic and Indo-European languages, Sumerian has no confirmed connection to any other known language family. For this reason, linguists classify it as a language isolate. Evidence of early Sumerian civilization can be seen in artifacts such as the Blau monuments, dating to around 3,100 to 2,700 BC. These objects combine early forms of writing with images of people and activities from ancient Sumer. However, the question of where the Sumerians came from remains unsettled. Some researchers once suggested that they migrated from North Africa, possibly from the Green Sahara. However, archaeological evidence indicates that farming had already developed in the Fertile Crescent, making it difficult to prove that migrating Sumerians introduced agriculture to the region. Other researchers have looked toward the Caucasus, attempting to connect the Sumerians with ancient groups such as the Hurrians and Urartians. Another intriguing possibility comes from Sumerian mythology. Ancient texts frequently mention Dilmun, describing it as a special land connected with the gods. Some researchers have suggested that Dilmun could have been the ancestral homeland of the Sumerians. Yet, there is no conclusive proof that the Sumerians originated there. Before the Sumerians became dominant in southern Mesopotamia, other communities had already established themselves there. Researchers often call these people the Ubaidians. They developed skills that later became essential to Mesopotamian society. The Ubaidians drained marshlands and transformed them into farmland. They developed irrigation systems, produced pottery, practiced weaving, worked with metals, built structures, and participated in trade. Eridu, often regarded as one of the world's oldest cities, was another major early settlement. Archaeologists believe several communities may have lived in the region. Farmers practiced irrigation, pastoralists raised sheep and goats, while fishing communities lived among the marshlands in reed houses. By the Uruk period, around the 4th millennium BC, Sumer was undergoing a transformation. Small settlements grew into large cities, trade networks expanded, writing developed, and political systems became organized. Eventually, Sumerian political independence declined. Around 2270 BC, Sumer was conquered by the Akkadian Empire, led by Semitic-speaking rulers. Despite losing political control, the Sumerian language did not immediately disappear. Instead, it continued to be used for religious, administrative, and scholarly purposes. Sumerian political power later returned during the 3rd dynasty of Ur, around 2100 to 2000 BC. But this revival did not last. Akkadian continued to spread, and Sumerian eventually ceased to be an everyday spoken language. Even after the Sumerians disappeared as a political power, their influence remained. Their writing, religion, mathematics, architecture, literature, and systems of government influenced later Mesopotamian civilizations for centuries. The mystery is how a civilization that emerged so early developed such extraordinary achievements. Their origins may still be debated, but their legacy is clear. The Sumerians helped lay foundations for later human civilization. The Sumerians were entirely unknown during the early period of modern archaeology, remaining hidden from history until scholars began uncovering evidence of their existence. Jules Aupert was the first scholar to publish the word Sumer in a lecture on January 17, 1869, marking an important moment in the rediscovery of this ancient civilization. The first major excavations of Sumerian cities took place in 1877 at Girsu, led by the French archaeologist Ernest de Sarzec. In 1889, excavations began at Nippur, led by John Punnett Peters from the University of Pennsylvania, and these excavations continued between 1889 and 1900. Another important excavation took place at Shurapak, where German archaeologist Robert Koldewey carried out excavations in 1902 to 1903. Major publications about these discoveries soon followed, giving scholars a clearer picture of the civilization they were uncovering. Les Inscriptions de Sumer et d'Akkad was published by François Thureau d'Angin in 1905, providing important information about Sumerian and Akkadian inscriptions. Could these new revelations by the scientists finally bring the answers to the mysteries surrounding the Sumerians? Share your thoughts in the comment section below. Thank you for staying with us as we looked into the truth about the mystery of the Sumerian handbag. Could this be the end to the mysteries? Don't forget to like and subscribe. Click the next video on your screen to explore more stories. See you there.